Hi, it's Sam from Earth Cadet. You're listening and watching Mikey's Untold Music Show. I know I am, all the way here in Australia, the best music show around.
Welcome to Mikey's Untitled Music Show. Today, we're going to get into the musical mind of Sam Edmonds from Earth Cadet. How you doing today, Sam?
I'm good. I'm cold. It's very cold here in Australia at the moment, or at least the part that I'm in. But I'm so happy to be on with you.
Thank you
So
so
now
much.
wearing your own merch, but it was the closest hoodie to the bed, and it's 6 a.m. here, so I'm wearing it. I
Hey,
hope that's
it looks great. It looks like that looks like a sweatshirt that everybody should go to your website right now. Earth Cadet, or where can we find that sweatshirt right now?
www.earth-cadet.com. Yeah.
There you go, guys. You see it right there. It's beautiful. Go get it. Go get it right now, please. That'd be
Oh,
great. But but thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. We're gonna dive into your musical mind and find out how you got your musical creativity. Can you let us know first, though? Can you introduce yourself, what you do in the band, and the other band members, please?
yeah, for sure. I am Sam. I play guitar, I sing, I write all the music, I produce all the songs. I've mixed everything so far. And yeah, it kind of started off as a solo project, but we've since added my brother Micah and my good mate Fidge as well. Oh no, I fixed it. Fidge plays bass. His name's Sam as well, but his last name's Fidge, so that's why we call him Fidge. And my brother Micah, and he plays drums. Um, and that's Earth Cadet. We're a three-piece. It's a lot easier to get around with, Mikey, than like a five-piece or a six-piece in today's day and age. It's very convenient. It's easy to
And
organize around.
yeah, how'd you guys form?
So it was a solo project, and I was up here in Bendigo, which is about 2 hours north of Melbourne in Australia. People know where that is. So if you know where King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard live, I'm about 2 hours north of that. And we it was there's a lot of acoustic singer-songwriters here in Bendigo, and, they needed another one, like, they need a hole in the head, and I was like, not about that. So I was like, "You know what? I think I need to form a band." I'm gonna fix this camera for you, Mikey. Um, there we go. How's that? That hopefully should be less problems.
Oh,
Um,
that's good. Thanks.
we needed another acoustic singer-songwriter, like, it needs a hole in the head. So, yeah, I got in touch with Micah because he was living up here as well. I said, "Hey, do you wanna play drums?" And then I run a record store here in Bendigo, and, there was a guy that came through a lot, and he was a bass player called Elliot, and I was like, "Hey, do you wanna play as well?" Because like, I think his band was petering out. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and then we started doing gigs and writing music, and, yeah, that's how we started.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So I like to start at the beginning, Sam. One of the first questions I like to ask is if you can remember one of the earliest like times that you use your musical creativity for like something that you made yourself.
Yeah. I reckon there was I was the first time it's funny because like, I saw you because you asked this question a little bit on some of your other shows, and I was, like, racking my brain, like, what's the first time I think I used it? I think it was kinda always there a little bit. Um, you pick up a guitar or something. I started learning guitar when I was 13. And you're always messing around with things, particularly when you can't play a song that you've learnt
Mm,
or you haven't learnt it properly. So you just make stuff up because you're like, "I could go back and learn that song," or like, this thing's kinda cool." And I think I started writing songs pretty quickly, as soon as I knew kind of basic chords and that sort of thing. I was like, "Oh, this is a cool riff," and like and it starts kind of as a, "Why haven't I heard this before?" Like,
mhm.
where's the music that, you're some of your influences, but I think there was a like, sometimes I'm like, it felt like cheating. I'm like, how did I come up with this riff by myself? And with dealing with 8 notes and one time signature, like, yeah, well, 12 notes, but most of the time we're only using 8. And how did no one come up with this thing in this way? And
Mhm.
that really excited me. I think it was probably my first band, Silver Bullet Theory, and I think I started bringing riffs when I was like 15, 16, and like songs and writing some just awful lyrics, Mikey. I'll be honest with you, just so. Um, yeah, I think that was probably my first like memory of like using it in a musical context, at least. My parents would say I'm always creative, mostly with excuses. But Shinx, I think that's more what you meant.
And you said you started playing guitar when you were 13. Who were some of those influences that made you actually want to start playing an instrument?
I there was some guitarists at church, and they always looked like the coolest because they were up there playing. And I was like, oh, I could do that. I think I wanted to play drums, and mum and dad were like, eventually, that's when I got to my youngest brother, Micah. I think 4 kids had slowly worn them down, and then they're like, you know what? Do what you like as long as you're
Find.
yeah. But I think yeah, I some of the influences. I think the first song I learned was "Move It" by Cliff Richard and the Shadows. Because mum was a big Cliff Richard fan.
Mm.
uh, which is a like ancient pre-Beatles pop star who's still alive somehow. Look it, but he's still alive. Um, and I think like The Unforgiven by Metallica, but it's
Mm.
like primary influence. Like when I like picked it up was probably I listen to them a lot less now, but like John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I think
Mm.
he has a way with melody and restraint while still being just effortlessly cool. Uh,
Yeah.
that like really appealed to me when I was younger. And that he was kind of like maybe set apart from the other band members in that like he seemed a bit more mature. He seemed a little less preoccupied with putting socks on things, and he was kind of there to make the music. So I think I've that was probably my main influence at the start, and then probably the Edge after that from YouTube.
Mm. Mhm.
uh, Understanding like guitar effects as a creative tool, um, and a way that you don't have to learn how to shred too hard. And Tom Morello. Tom Morello was a big one as well from Rage and Audio.
Mhm.
But they were probably the original holy trinity, I think, of influences for sure.
That's beautiful. And there's a very broad, or not broad, oh yeah, broad range of music that you have there too, right? Like you got Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine. You have you said like Bono, or I'm not Bono, The Edge with you two, and
Yeah,
just a bunch of different sounds, and they kind of just like made you want to, like all of these different sounds made you want to get into it. That's amazing. That's really cool. Did you start writing like lyrics before you started playing guitar?
yeah. There's like as a lot of people will probably tell you, and you've probably heard on this show many times before. There are some notebooks of just full poetry that is sitting in my garage that I'm afraid to open. And if a mouse eats them, all the better. Because yeah, there's some rough stuff in there. So yes, I was definitely always writing. Um, it was like the emotions are very strong when you're growing up, hormones and the rest of it. And um, it's funny. Some people have like you have a different reaction. Like, yeah, I haven't felt these feelings like this before. What am I going to do with it?
Mm.
Um, you know, am I going to be, am I going to do sport really hard, or am I going to do, you know, or hang out with other people, or be a big bully and like project, or am I going to sit in my room? And I think I opted for the last one. I think a lot of creatives, that's where it kind of starts, doesn't it? Like it's like I've got big feelings. The world needs to hear about it. Like that's sort of like, regardless of the fact that like I think when you're 13, you feel like you're the only one that's feeling those things. But you're not. Everybody's feeling those things.
Yeah,
So it's a unique experience. It's like it's not unique.
everybody's going through it. Like I had a when I was 13, that's when American Idiot had come out not too long before. And oh my God, that album, I swore I was the Jesus of Suburbia
I was
and
saying we all thought, who's what's her name? Where's
who
she
is
at?
that? Yeah. And then now we understand. Now we know who she is.
It's so funny you bring up that record because the first song I ever played in front of people, I was in a terrible cover band that we did the Battle of the Bands and we were called the Sams because like four of us were named Sam in the band. This is a like having a heavy dose of Sams in a band is something that has lasted my entire career, but so far. But yeah, we played What's Her Name at like a church Battle of the Bands.
I love that.
They were not ready for it, and neither were we. It just played it terribly. But I love that song.
Oh, that's such a good song. It's so underrated. Like I I was so happy to have been able to listen to that song. When they played with who did they play with? I think it was Pierce the Veil in San Diego.
Yeah.
Um and it's a I think the second or third time I've watched them, but they played Dookie and American Idiot from start to finish, my two favorite albums. It's funny because Dookie was actually the first cassette tape um that I ever like found on my own at a it was like at Goodwill or like it was somewhere. It was somewhere. It wasn't the store. It wasn't like
Yeah.
the store, but I just remember finding that cassette and being like, "Oh, Green Day. I know Green Day." You know, and um I remember putting that on and just from start to finish it was just banger after banger. And I'm like, "God damn." But I had lost that cassette tape and I had lost kind of like the old Green Day when the new Green Day kind of came out, right? And but yeah, like that was my first ever like honestly, I think that was like my first ever album that I found kind of myself, you know?
Something ownership over that you just don't have ever again. Like you get one go at it really, and then you'll just have that kind of feeling for sure. That's so exciting, man. That's such a great album.
Yeah, and that show was so good and I was able to finally listen to Letter Bomb live and I was finally able to listen to What's Your Name live and those are my two favorite songs on the album. Letter Bomb is like my favorite and then What's Your Name, but honestly, like, you can go from start to finish in that album and you're good. You know?
The bands are doing that now, where they're like recognizing that, yeah, there's a lot of value to going and touring the old stuff.
Mhm.
They just finished up that they did a couple of shows here at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, doing those, and like we had a lot of people that made the trip down to Melbourne and they were just raving about it. They loved it because yeah, you're like you're not guaranteed St. Jimmy in every set if you go to watch them,
Mhm.
but to get it, or what's the name, or yeah, to get the whole like Jesus of Suburbia
Yeah.
and coming medleys. All right,
And
this is
then
now a
just
Green Day podcast. Just so you know, Green Day for station.
oh, Green Day appreciation. But yeah, like it's cool where we get our influences from, right? And I I know I used to write poetry back in the day, you know, like and like you said, like you had to find somewhere.
Hiding.
It's hiding somewhere. I'm sure it's hiding somewhere. But so you get into like you start on the guitar and you have these influences. You've already been writing these lyrics. Um, when did you get into your first band?
Yeah, so we there was a like a Easter thing, and they needed a like a cover band, and so there were three or four of us that were like, we weren't in the cool team at church because we weren't very good, but we like hanging out and playing with each other. So we started a
Mm,
band called Silver Bullet Theory, and we needed a drummer, and there was a guy from another somebody new called Ed, and we got him, and he was vastly more talented than us, which was always hilarious when there's like a bunch of teenagers, and then there's a guy slightly older that's way better than them,
Mm.
because it confuses people. So people come to see you and they're like, they're kind of good, and I don't know why. And I'm like, I can tell you because one of us is good. But I guess to try to keep up with him, like I was like in the woodshed trying to come up with stuff and trying to like bring interesting things in, interesting ideas. And yeah, that's probably when we first kind of started. We thought it was such a cool name. It was like MySpace era,
Yeah.
and we did our little search, like, oh no, there's no silver bullet theories, but we hadn't searched very hard. And I remember there was like this metal band in, I don't even know, like Denmark or something that had the name, and they sent us like a copy paste cease and desist on like MySpace chat. It's hilarious. Now in hindsight, it scared the shit out of, sorry.
Yeah.
So it scared the
Oh, it's okay, bro. Don't worry about that.
I guess
Yeah.
the shout. And at the time, and now I look back on it, I'm like, come on, man. Like, uh,
What were you guys doing?
I was like, yeah. But yeah, we all had like really long shaggy hair, and we all went to the local like um we call it Aussie disposals here, but it's like the what do you guys call it? Like the, you know, the store that you go to, like the army surplus store, right?
Oh,
Is that
okay. Like a Goodwill then, like a thrift store, right?
yeah, kind of, yeah. And we all found like these camo jackets, and we would all wear these matching camo jackets because we were like, it's gonna be about the look because we're not very good, so we better look.
Oh, you mean like the Army Navy store kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay, yeah,
X, like, you know, crusty camo from like the 70s. It's just been sitting there gathering mothballs for I don't even know how long. I think I still got the jacket somewhere, even though my wife keeps trying to throw it every time we move. Because it's rank. It's a lot. But yeah, we used to run around in those and play gigs, and I was writing and that sort of thing. And I think the drummer and I were taking it really seriously, and we were getting vastly better at our craft. The bass player, the guitarist, not so much. I think they were just having fun. Like we were teenagers, you know.
yeah.
And I was taking it all very seriously. I was like, no, if you want it, you got to get better. You got to practice. You got to. And I think, yeah, again, in hindsight, you look back on those things and you're like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was probably the first time. And like no one else could sing, so it kind of fell to me. And I couldn't sing either, but I could sing the least bad of everybody, if that makes any sense. Like a bit in Inglorious Bastards, we're like, well, he speaks the best Italian. Uh,
Gorlami.
yeah,
I love that. I love that movie. That's like one of my favorite movies. Well, actually, that is my favorite movie. And Quentin Tarantino, he's the goat.
yeah, yeah. So that's how that started. So yeah, first band, Silver Bullet Theory. We're probably like 15 or 16. We stopped playing covers pretty quickly, because they're hard to learn, and it was like I said before, it seemed easier to write stuff than to
Mhm.
learn. That makes any sense. Yeah.
That's cool, man. And from there, where did you? So you're not in that band anymore. When did you start come? What? When did you start writing with Earth Cadet? You said that you were at a solo project. So talk to me about that solo project, actually.
So I bounced around some other bands with me singing, and then I started one called Out of Character with my now wife. And it was kind of like a grunge indie rock thing. And she sung because she's a much better singer than me, and played bass. And we did that for a while, and then it kind of petered out. And I went to like music school here and learned sound production and that sort of thing. And I came out of it and I was doing like electronic music, so like making beats and things. And it was, I've had a lot of band names over the years, and I was trying to come up with another one. And sometimes, yeah, like you need to put your 10,000 hours in of trying to figure out band names. And then I was like, maybe Earth Cadet, because it kind of had more of an electronic vibe to it. Like that
Mm.
play on Space Cadet, but like we should be a little bit more focused on Earth than we are on space. I don't know if the vibes are over there feeling similar. Yes. A lot of people looking at space. So I'm like, look, let's keep the gaze a little lower, figure this out first.
Yeah, down here.
Um, so yeah, so it was an electronic project. So I was doing beats and stuff and making very mediocre trip hop. And then I was like, oh, I I listened to okay. Here's where we are. You're bringing this out, Mike, because I haven't thought about this in a while. I listened to the Andy Shorth album. Do you know Andy Shorth?
No, I don't.
He's a Canadian singer songwriter. He writes folk music and
Mm.
phenomenal. Check him out. He wrote a couple of albums called The Party and The Neon Skyline, and they're concept albums. One's about being at a party, and one's about this pub that he, when he first moved to America, that he was at all the time, called The Neon Skyline. And um, again, that like idea of like, I could do this,
Mhm.
like, so and like that's I can't be Andy Schauf, so don't come at me, fans of the hit him and go what?
Shout out
Um,
Andy Short.
yeah, and I started sitting down with my acoustic guitar and writing some tunes, and because I was like, oh yeah, I can do this, and then that kind of developed, and then those old influences come back, those alt rock influences that we were talking
Mhm.
earlier, and they start to like creep into your mind, and they're like, this could sound a bit more rocky. This doesn't have to be an acoustic guitar in a sad time. This could be an electric guitar in a sad time. So
Mm.
that's that kind of started.
No, yeah, and I listened to the first I think it's the first release that you have on Spotify, Ubiquity. So that that song kind of had that vibe. Like it was like a I guess uh, like EDM song kind of thing, but with the guitar, right? Like but like more rocky as well. Like or like yeah, like more rock and roll. Can you tell me about that first one?
I was listening to a lot of My Bloody Valentine and shoegaze here in Melbourne. Well, Melbourne is
Hey, what?
very in vogue at the moment. And there's a band here in Australia called Flying Colours,
Mm.
uh, and they're phenomenal shoegaze act. And I was listening to a lot of them, and I was like, oh, this, again, man, so much of this starts with how difficult can it be, and then it turns out to be very difficult, but I stick with it anyway. Um, and then I started, experimenting with just that sort of sound, and it was all me at that point. So it was like I was doing all the vocals, did all the guitars and the bass. The only thing I didn't do was drums. I
Mm.
reached out to there's a band here in Australia. They're up in Brisbane called Machine Age. They're really cool. They do that sort of thing, like that kind of like half electronic, half shoegazy pop thing but melody is still very much at the forefront. And the
Mhm.
drummer there, Dylan, he's amazing. So I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, do you do like session drums?" Because he was like my favorite drummer at the time. He was like, "Yeah," and so he did the drums on it, and then I mixed it all up, and then I just sat on it because it was more an experiment of like how far can I get producing and mixing and doing the Kevin Parker thing all myself. And
Mhm.
then how can I get it to sound? And I think everybody in the house was so sick of hearing it by the time I'd finished. And then I just kind of left it on the, because you have imposter syndrome. You're like, oh, I don't think it's any good. And I
Mm.
get kind of left it on the shelf for ages. And then when I did put it out, it was like, it was a solo project and it wasn't to any fanfare or anything. And I hadn't promoted it very well. And it's like a Canva for cover art of like
Mhm.
a picture that my dad took of me all pixelated. And I just kind of put it out and was like, hey, it's out. But it definitely gave me the itch. But now,
But
yeah,
that's what you have to do, right?
I
Like
guess.
like you just have to like put it out there. You just have to put it into the world and freaking and then once it's out there, it's kind of like okay, well, at least for me, like once it was out, like it got hard to start for me. And I mean, if you listened to the show before, I've kind of talked about it. Like I kind of had like a little breakdown back in
Yeah,
December, like just thinking about like, oh, like who cares or whatever, like boohoo me, right? But I hadn't started anything. I hadn't done anything. And then I finally came to the conclusion, just find an artist. And I found one and I did it. But and then after that, it was kind of like, well, that wasn't that hard, you know? It's just what's the worst that can happen? Somebody could say no, so then but, like, you start the process, but it's good you started that process, and then it took you to, like, that first demo that you have, the demo volume 1 with the Apocalypse and, End State, I think?
yeah,
Apocalypse Dreams, right?
yeah,
And so then the sound goes to more, like not harder, but like just more rock vibes, right? Like, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think that was that kind of like the Ubiquity was interesting and fun, but it wasn't something we could replicate live. And so when
Mm,
I found Micah and Elliot, who was the bass player at the time, um, we wanted stuff that we could play in front of people because that's always a lot of fun. And there's quite a few venues here in Bendigo, and there wasn't anybody really doing what we're doing. There's plenty of people in Melbourne doing that kind of alt rock revival thing, but
mhm,
not not so much here in Bendigo. So we felt there was an opportunity. So Apocalypse Dreams was a riff and a song that I kind of had pretty demoed out for ages
mhm,
on my on my computer. And so I brought that to the band. I was like, "Does anybody like this?" They're like, "Yeah, it's really good." And so like we whipped that out. And then In State was it's funny, In State was written the same week as one of our most recent singles, Broken Bones.
mhm,
Because once it started and that like the creative thing, I was just like sitting with a guitar all day, whenever I had a spare moment and things were just coming out. That idea of like you were saying before of just putting it out, right? You will learn, I've found anyway, in my experience, I've learned so much more from putting things out and then moving on and then doing
mhm,
more than I have um like sitting on something and then just like re-listening to it over and over and over again and trying to make incremental changes.
mhm,
So yeah, then we moved in that kind of more rocky space. And then like to that point of like just getting things out. We had a show booked at a festival here in Bendigo called Gold Rock Festival. And we it's called Gold Rock because little known fact, the most gold ever mined in Australia was actually mined in Bendigo. I think we're like second to California or something worldwide at the time.
oh shit.
It's called the Gold Fields, this kind of like
Mhm,
area of Victoria that we live in. So Gold Rock, it was kind of like just a lot of Bendigo bands, which was a lot of fun. And I was like, well, no one has anything except Ubiquity and to listen to on Spotify. And no one's like, and that's not how we sound anymore. And so I record all the rehearsals that we do. So I quickly like went in and put an extra guitar on and resung the vocal, and we just put those out. Like I think the 2 days before the show, just to get something out there so that people could listen to it. And then yeah, you get addicted to putting things out. I know.
yeah, and like, so you do that, and then you have your EP, the Tales from the End EP. Is that the first kind of project that you guys had together as a band?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. And most of that was tracked live in the room with the three of us. So Elliot at the time. Um, Sometimes he came over here and like redid bass on stuff. But yeah, that was probably the first time where I was like, "Oh, no," like, I think the demos are really good because they were like, "Oh, we can get a really good sound with just the 3 of us kinda hashing it out." And it sounded a little bit different to us to how like, you're listening to rock music at the moment, like, you like everything's pretty, like, on the grid. Everything's
Mhm,
pretty quantized and things are pretty, like, you know, pitch corrected and everything sounds very perfect, right?
mhm,
And there's nothing wrong with that, like, that's super exciting, and that's just where rock music is at the moment, like, and it's working, it's resonating with people. Sleep Token just went number 1 in the States and, like, in the UK, like, that sort of music is really but it wasn't vibing with us. We kinda prefer that how the first few Pearl Jam records were on Soundgarden and stuff where it's like, it's dudes in a room, you know guys and girls in a room just like hashing it out and warts and all and just doing the best that they can. And so we kind of wanted to preserve that as much as possible. And we were getting really good sounds, you know. I felt like I was mixing things better song to song. So things were sounding better as you move through the EP as well, for some of the stuff. So yeah, it was that was probably the first project that we did with the three of us. Mike is like I bring all the songs to the band but Micah and Elliot at the time as well, just really good at arrangement. It's like I'm a guy that like I would rather edit a song down so that people want to hear it again than it overstay its welcome. And so we kind of started that on that EP where it's like, no, like things are the length, the length that they need to be, or even a little shorter. So it kind of has that kind of feeling of like immediacy, um, which isn't very alt rock either. Because like in the early '90s, there's a lot of really long songs, which I love as well. But I think people's attention span now is a lot less. So having things that are, the Beatles were able to do verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, verse in like 2.5 minutes. And, I think there's a lot of, the pop sphere, there's a lot of songs that sort of length at the moment. So um, having rock come back to that a little bit as well. But then again, Sleep Token go number one, and like they released one single off that record and it was like 10 minutes long. So what I
No, but I guess it goes to just that. I mean, it's not what do you know, right? It's just that's their style, and right now that's kind of resonating more. But we don't know their journey, right? Or we don't know like how long they've been doing it, right? So, um, like I but I do like that kind of that rock is coming back, even if it is kind of coming in through like the poppy vibes. Um,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like and Instagram and all of those like social media, like rock is coming back in a big way for sure. Um, but it's nice to hear bands like yours that have that like it's kinda like you're bringing back grunge also, right?
Mm.
Like, you're kinda like, it's kind of like Audioslave, right? Like, they're kinda bringing like yeah, Audioslave, it was like grunge and bringing back like that or that grunge and that rage sound and bringing that together, but it's kind of like what you guys are doing also, you're kind of bringing grunge in with the new age rock, and it's really working really well, and it
No, I
seems like
think
it's working well for you guys.
yeah, I think it's hit something for sure. Um, my Spotify tells me with men of like my age, that yeah, I guess we grew up on that sort of music and that's the stuff that we still really love. I
Mhm,
think it's cool that people can see it in a context, but that in a way that it's fresh as well. Like, and no slide on like Greta Van Fleet or whatever, but like it's not exactly the same. Like,
mhm,
I don't think, I hear bands sometimes, especially when they're coming up and it's like imitation's the biggest source of flattery, but like if you sound exactly like Nirvana or exactly like probably more like the Krieg Pearl Jam thing at the moment is very ubiquitous. Sorry,
mhm,
pun not intended. Uh, where like there's a lot of bands at the moment coming up and it's like it's that vocal style and it's those sorts of chords at that sort of BPM and it's like it's very similar to what was already released. And I'm like, that's not as interesting to me. I think it is like trying to do something a little bit fresh with it at least,
mhm,
where you kind of you're filtering it through the same experiences and there's enough like shared language that everybody understands kind of what you're going for. We wear flannels on stage and we have long hair and we you know, we're a three piece with a lot of distortion and, like everybody understands the core tenets of what we're doing, but that, we're bringing a little bit something different to it, like a different kind of, you know, everybody's stylings and melodic motifs that they go back to a lot are a little bit different. So like,
mhm.
I'm hoping that mine cut through in a different way than, um, you know, Scott Stapp or, whoever. Um, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I can only think of like four bands. I'm sorry, Mike. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think the grunge thing's really, really exciting. Like, it's having a moment here in Australia. There's a few bands that are kind of doing it. We
Mhm,
got some friends over in Adelaide, which is southeast, west of Melbourne, South Australia, called Hello Enemy, and they just put an album out, and they're unashamedly that's their vibe. They're like all over all their branding and everything. We're grunge rock. We're bringing it back, that sort of thing. So yeah,
mhm.
there's a lot of bands doing it, or like kind of we're on the same. We're reading from the same notebook here in Oz for sure.
Yeah, and it's nice to see. I love when musicians and artists blend different styles of music together. I think that's why I think like Linkin Park was like hit so big. I think that's why when Rage first came out, that's why they hit so big. Just it's a different it's two styles that you know,
Yep.
but you never thought that they would be good together. Like grunge and like kind of this new age, I guess rock. I wouldn't you wouldn't think that you would think that they're too similar to kind of blend together, right? But they're not, you know. You can hear the two different sounds
Yep.
um
Yep.
in that blend. So it's really nice to see that grunge is actually like kind of coming back also as well. So and so when you have your next releases, Broken Bones and Ladder, what's kind of the mindset like of like how different do you want it to sound?
Yeah, I found myself, I guess Broken Bones is a little bit of that kind of return to like thinking about things in that kind of shoegazy way. I was listening a lot to a band out in New York called Bean Stella, or like it's pronounced Ben Stella to Americans, I think. And they had an album come out last year called Scream from New York, New York. And it's one of my favorite rock albums in I don't even know how long. Just so fresh, but so like that thing that I was talking about, like shared common language that we all understand, but a really fresh take on it. And they kind of, yeah, they were a little bit more reverby and a bit more shoegazy and how they were approaching things. There's a band out of Melbourne, Lock. They just toured the States actually recently. They're really, really cool. And they're kind of like similar vibes, that sort of like, what is it, like post emo, like kind of new wave punk, post punk thing. And it's just,
Mm,
I started finding that really, really exciting. I think I'd mined um, my grunge roots pretty heavily. And I was starting to see what was else was happening in the space around that time. And I started listening to a lot of post hardcore actually,
mm,
Quicksand and Rival Schools. Basically any band Walter Schreifels is in, Gorilla Biscuits, like, and started like watching interviews about how he played guitar because I love how he writes and like the riffs that he comes up with. And this kind of like Ladder's probably the best example of me ripping it off. Like a new track of like how he approaches drop D, but in a major, like
mm.
in a major key. So like drop D is a big like you be aware of drop D, right? Like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All the
Everybody wants all the hard players want to play in drop D. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's like it's big and it's heavy and it's like, you know, it's so much fun to play. It feels like a cheat code
Mhm.
first band drop D. But there was something Walter said that I saw in an interview. Because someone asked him what tunings do you use because his stuff sounds so heavy, especially Quicksand. He's like, "Oh, we're in standard or we're in drop D," and I was like, "What?" Because drop D is to not hit the open D just because you can,
Mm,
because it's easy to just go chunk, 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 chunk. Um, Whereas like if you can play up to it, and so that it's quite satisfying when it happens, um, that resonated more with him as a songwriter. And so it's
mm,
cement. And yeah, that's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It's a tuning that kind of the way the voicings work are just really interesting. And I found just it was playing off like it was sparking melodic ideas that were different because of how I played the guitar and how all the notes sounded together. So most of the new records in drop D, but in that kind of way of thinking about things in like not just chunk, 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 but like what a chords sound like in kind of different context. It's like the lamest alternate tuning in the world, but I'm really, really enjoying it. Like kind of like, heart shaped box, right? Like the Nirvana track's a really good example of
mhm,
that as well. Cause like he doesn't hit that low D until the end of the verse progression. And so it feels really dark. And then when he gets to that big open D, it feels so dark, like really moody. because it's being kind of like kept from you. And so when it does happen, it's like, oh,
That
like
yeah, I I I I love that sound, bro. Yeah.
yeah. And like that tension and release thing, I think is really important in music. You don't want to give anybody too much of a good thing. I was watching a band the other day and I was like, I love that riff, but I can't hear it again because you played it 10 times in a row.
Mm.
Played it times in a row. I would have listened to it. Makes any sense?
On that just to hear those two times that you played it. No, I get you. I understand. It's kind of like it it's kind of like in pro wrestling, right? So you go you have to like it's the build, right? Like you have to y- right now there's a lot of big spots you would say, right? A lot of big huge flying flips and a lot of stuff where, it doesn't eh, it's standard now. But before when Jeff Hardy did a swanton bomb off of
Yeah.
that lat, you you and going up that ladder, everybody knew it was like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And yeah, he did the swanton was his finisher, but you knew if he did it off of that ladder, that was gonna be amazing, right? So it's that build and like actually hitting that rather than actually just like here's a flip, here's a flip, here's a flip, here's a flip, here's a flip.
Yeah. 100%. And I think we're maybe not doing that as much in the sphere because attention spans are so short. We put hip
Mm.
hooks in front straight away. Like he's like 10 hooks in a row. Whereas I think maybe people are coming back to that point where it's like, you know, don't show them everything so that they engage more with you rather than giving everything to everybody all the time, like and doing lots and lots of flips. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
and
climb the ladder and then drop it on it.
yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to like stay away from now. Like I'm trying my thing is like like people tell me that my videos are a little too long and they're like a minute 30 or sometimes they can get to like 2 minutes or something. But I want the listener now and the listener in the future or the viewer, whoever watches to know that they're gonna get a good soundbite from my interviewee, or they're gonna get a good spotlight. I'm not just gonna give you 10 seconds of the song and be like, listen to the band, or I'm not gonna give you like right now I kind of do my spotlights. If I kind of do like 3 songs, I'll do like 2 minutes and I'll give like 45 seconds each song or something like that. But like I'd rather give you 45 seconds and it be a little long than and you be used to that than just 15 to like 15 seconds of the song and like we're done with it. Like and that kind of like doesn't go in my favor. It kind of goes against me a little bit, I guess, with the algorithm and stuff like that. But if I do that now, that's my standard. And I want people to be able to have a consistent standard and know that my place is for the music and it's not for the like, I want you to find and discover good new music on my page. I don't want you to just come to my page just to get a bunch of clicks
Yep.
and I want this to be something that I build to where if I'm kind of like if I reach out to an artist, if I can help them in any way or like make their follower count go from like 100 to 500 or something like that, then that's amazing. That's like my dream, like that's my big win. So, um, yeah, you kind of have to.
That's awesome. Because yeah, you're right. Like the algorithm and everything is up against that sort of content. And but no, like as you're doing a couple of things. One, as an artist, it's super appreciated because like I haven't thought about this stuff in years. And so like you asking these questions is just amazing because like I feel a bit more like I'm thinking more about the context of how I create. But then secondly, like you're an archivist as well. Like you're a record keeper that doesn't happen anymore in this space, not in a great degree, especially not with bands at our level. And so, as someone that's like done that deep dive on an artist, and then I go into Spotify and I just search for podcast episodes so I can listen to them for an hour and a half, talk about their process. Like That's so important because like, yeah, there was, I was talking about Walter Schreifels before. Um, yeah, I don't think there's a podcast episode he's on yet that I haven't listened to. And like, I'm always happy when they're like an hour and a half. It's like talk about what makes him tick for ages. So, with like, podcasts that have, however many followers. But yeah, no. So thank you for doing what you're doing, Mikey, and keep it up.
No, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to, yeah, I just want to spread the love, bro. Spread the love, spread the music. And like, I mean, if this, I don't know. I I I have plans for this, like, for this podcast, like,
Yeah.
and not just like to stay here, like I have plans, and it's kind of like it, when I think about it, it's kind of like, bro, that's kind of reaching, bro. You're it's kind of like the things in my head, right? Like, but then I'm like, man, fuck all that. If I, like, what do you mean reaching? Like who cares? Like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't happen. Oh well, fuck it. But
Yeah.
if I,
It wasn't
if
going
I
to
can
stand.
help,
Like, if you
yeah,
ever did it, it was definitely not going to happen. There's like I don't know, it was like some sort of Facebook thing I saw ages ago that was like, when you think about doing that degree or whatever, and you look at it and you're like, oh, it's going to take 5 years. And it's like, well, yeah, do you want to have a degree in 5 years, or do you want to like, because if you don't do it because it takes 5 years, in 5 years' time, you still don't have one. Like, that idea of like just getting kind of like getting onto it, because yeah, you never know. You really never know where, but you do actually know. You never know what will happen if you start doing it, but you definitely know what will happen if you don't.
yeah.
Uh, and yeah, so yeah, wow, like go off, King. Do your thing. Yeah, you don't like you put in the work, and hard work is underrated, and the more, because not everybody wants to do it, and so you're already lapping everybody that's not doing it. So yeah,
Hmm.
you're up ahead already, man.
I love that. I love that you're already lapping everybody that's not doing it. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true.
We've got a saying here in Australia, like, when you see somebody out like going on their first run or whatever, they're getting back into the fitness game or whatever, and you're like, "How you doing, man?" He's like, "I'm lapping everyone on the couch." Sure. Um, and yeah, like I take that into most things that I do, and I think you're of a similar ilk, Mikey.
Yeah. Yeah, and I I just had to get to a point to where like I'm tired of talking about it, and I'm tired of people, or like if I if I talked about, this is what I would do. I would talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, and I would put it into the world. And I would get the reactions from the people around me.
Yeah,
And their reactions would kind of make me feel like I probably shouldn't do that,
yeah,
or I'm not gonna do that. It never got me to the point of, well, but and it only ever did when it came to doing something normal or getting like going into like a job or something like that, right? Because that's just the way the world works. It's around money, whatever, blah blah blah. So I just stopped talking about it, because I would talk about it and I would do I would say all the stuff, and I would get myself all riled up, and then I wouldn't do it because of the people around me saying like, and it didn't have to be either like it was family or friends or whoever, it was anybody. I would kind of talk about it around, and then it was like, okay, I guess I shouldn't do it. All right. But
yeah,
yeah, like you said, like I finally got to that point where it's like, just do it. Just do it. Like, why not just do it? And I'm doing it, and I'm having a good time. And
yeah. That's the
yeah.
thing too. Like learning, that's so important as well. Like learning to love the process, because yeah, for like the start of anything, like it's like everything's a slow build. Like I love reading about all these overnight successes, and then it's like they've been at this for 10 years. I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel so bad about where we're at. Um, but yeah, like that. yeah, I forgot exactly what I was saying, but like that, you've got to love the process. That has to sustain you through it, like having cool conversations and learning things by talking with people. And like, yeah, if I didn't like creating music and every aspect of it, like, I like, don't tell anyone this, Mikey, but I really love the social media side of things. Like, I know it's very cool for bands to complain about having to do short form content, but I actually really like it.
Yeah.
But like, if you don't love all the different bits and pieces, like, yeah, you're not going to keep doing it for sure.
Um, the last question I do like to ask, Sam, um, is I don't know if you've ever spoke about this with your bandmates or if you just thought about this yourself. But what is Sam Edmonds or what is Earth Cadet's message to the world?
Oh, message to the world. How can we talk to, like, we kind of like, I reckon we hit on it a bit there, Mikey. Like, go out there and do the thing. Like,
Mm,
just do the thing. And if you're worried about how people will receive it, you're probably not doing it the right way.
mm,
You have to do it because you want to do it and because you enjoy doing it. Because if you do it for any other reason, you're gonna like, there's a lot of rejection in any creative field. And so if you are too perturbed by that, and like, it's all gonna, people don't listen to my new song, whatever, it hurts. But that can't be the reason that you do it. You can't do it for clicks and for views and streams. You have to do it because that's what you want to do as an artist. So yeah, go out, do the thing, and care less about what other people think. I think that's probably, in a nutshell. Yeah. Love the process.
beautiful. And where can we find Earth Cadet's music?
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube. Um, yeah, all the places. We had a new single called Ladder come out a couple of weeks ago. Got some more music cooking. Hoping to have an album out in October. Which will have some of the songs that we've released already, and then a bunch of new stuff that we're really, really excited about as a band. And more in that kind of like post-hardcore emo kind of ilk. There's some tracks that we're really keen to get on tape and get out there, and then we'll be playing around Australia in October as well. We're doing a little East Coast tour, so heading up to Sydney and Canberra and playing lots of shows in Melbourne and stuff. And yeah, come see us if you're local. Listen to a song if you're not, or both. Yeah. www.earth-cadet.com and at Earth Cadet at earth.cadet on Instagram. That's probably the best. Instagram's probably the best place. I'm on that way too much. That's probably the best place to follow us.
All right. Well, thank you again, Sam, for coming on and this musical journey with us and with me. And like we say at the end, everybody remember, be safe, be great. We share because we care. Peace.
Thanks so much, man.